Welcome to another episode of Exposed. Exposed is a youth talk show on Mohawk TV. The purpose of the show is to expose the issues that matter to Kahnawaka's youth and to provoke thought and discussion on those issues. I'm one of your panelists, Jessica Deere.
Curran.
Hogan. Gilbert.
Jacobs.
So it's kind of that time of the year when registration for school begins. I know a lot of the elementary schools have already started their registration, high schools, and for post-secondary, the deadline's March 1st.
I just got my application today, actually, to go to First Nations Technical Institute in Tyendinaga.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I know. I'm so excited right now.
So it's registration time. The March 1st deadline for post-secondary applications is coming up soon, and right now there's even like the elementary and high school registration going on. So where did the both of you like go to elementary school? Did you go in town or outside?
Yeah, I started off nursery and kindergarten. I went to Gurinuha, and then all my friends moved away to Indian Way School, and I was this lonely little loner. So I decided to go to Indian Way School to be with everyone else, and I was a happy kid again.
I went to Step by Step, and then I went to elementary school in Chattagee. I started at Mary Gardner, and then they did this whole rezoning of the school's business, and so I got put into like a brand new school, and I spent the rest of my elementary days at Harmony School, and so yeah, I went to school in Chattagee.
Right, so how was that experience, like going the experience of like being in an elementary school that wasn't in Kahnawake? Like I was only at Gurinuha like all 6 years plus, kindergarten and nursery.
I don't know, for me, I was just a kid, right, and there was a bunch of us from town that had gone to school together. We all, it wasn't uncommon for kids to be going to school off the reserve. I think the only thing that was really different was that, half my day was in French. So, coming out of elementary school there, I'm maybe more fluent in French than I could have been. I don't really know. Other than that, I went to school with non-native kids. It wasn't really that big of a difference, I think, but I don't know, because I've never gone to school here.
When I was in Indian Way School, we did an hour a week on French. There was a little a computer program that we'd hear the word and then we'd click on the picture, but we'd just click on any picture until we got it right. So we didn't really learn
And then you memorize it.
learn anything. But it was a completely different transition going from Gurinuha, because there was so many kids, and I remember just always having options to go to different crews, I guess you could call them. And then as soon as I got to Indian Way, which only had 60 people total, from grade 1 to 6, 60 people, it was very concentrated, and you really got to know people a lot better, which I think helped make me more of a personality.
Well, I think socially it plays a difference too, because you were in a smaller environment.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's because I noticed the difference too. When I was in elementary school, there were so many places I could go and so many different people because it was huge,
Yeah.
So it definitely molds a kid.
I know, going back to what you were saying about being I guess more fluent in French because you went to an outside elementary school, and I think that's why a lot of parents do send their kids to even I know it's popular for high schools, but it's even more popular I think now to even send them to outside elementary schools. And I think one of the biggest reason is so that they do get familiarized with the French language more. Because I know at Gardino, how obviously it's Mohawk immersion, and we only started learning in Mohawk and English and French in grade 5 and 6, and I'm pretty sure they changed that into grade 4 now. But I had such a hard time when I went into high school that constantly had to go through like French tutors and stuff like that. And
Well, I think in terms of like the French class, you know, and just in terms of learning the French language, it's beneficial to go to school off the reserve if that's what you're looking for your kid, you know. If you really want them to be more fluent, then cuz like I was fluent in French, and now since I started high school, it was instead of half of a day in French, it's become one class in French. And then now I don't even use my French at all anymore. And so like the only way for you to be able to learn a language is if you're in it constantly and always using it. So like in terms of like French, I think, you know, it's beneficial to go to school off the reserve, but I mean, you know, it's about what you want to do. It's so for me, I like that I went to school off the reserve because I like knowing that I have some French background.
how did you feel about I guess not having the same experiences as like culturally as people who go to school here?
I mean, I only when I started getting older, like in high school and stuff, did I start making more friends here. So I think I missed out on that a lot, you know, just in terms of the socializing aspect. But in terms of culture, I mean, my father was always really, you know, he taught me a lot of things. So I think I kept up with that. But I think I suffered more socially in terms of, you know, getting to know who people were here because I never went to school with any of them.
I think it was like a huge shock to go from this tiny little school, and then after Indian Way, I went to KSS, and again, it was like from tiny little, you knew everybody by face and name, and then you get into KSS, and there's so many people. I mean, I was the cool kid in Indian Way, and as soon as I got into KSS, it was like being back in grade 1 again, and like you don't know anybody, and you just picked on. And
well, exactly. It doesn't even matter like really where you're going to school. There's always going to be that.
I'm just saying, like if you went to St. Willibrod and then you ended up going to St. Centennial,
It's the
you
same
went to
difference.
a giant school and you're going into another giant school.
Yeah.
I went from a little one to a big one.
Well,
It was
that's
scary.
what in at Gardino how there's only 11 of us in our grade 6 class, and then I went to Sacred Heart, which is completely different, Catholic, all girls school, and there was like over 20 of us in one class, and there's like we had a graduating class of like 75 or something. It was like, and that apparently that's a small like you know class compared to, you know, some of the bigger schools like I'm sure like Lakeside or
Billings is huge. But then, you know, you go to Dawson and you're graduating with a class of like 500 and you're like, yeah.
Yeah, I felt
Or
really
even more
awkward in
than that.
Dawson. When I went to Dawson, even more awkward. I thought the jump from Indian Way to KSS was bad. From KSS to Dawson was even worse.
So we've all been to Dawson. Like,
Mm.
how did you think like your high school experience and your elementary school experience prepare you for CEGEP?
The last 2 years of high school were awesome. It was all about like, I mean, you got your work done and then you went out and you had a good time. Then you go back the next day. But in Dawson, there's no one pushing you to get your work done. You just want to have the good time part, and I think it should have been reiterated a bit more that there's not going to be that person to push you through your work, and you have to be your own motivator.
Yeah, to be like, you know, not yelling necessarily, but, you know, getting in trouble if like.
Yeah, there's no such thing as detention in Dawson.
I think that's what a lot of people, like high school students, take for granted. That, you know, even at Sacred Heart, like the teachers were always there for you, and they'd go after you if you didn't hand something in. When you get to like post-secondary studies, like you don't do it. Like the teacher's not gonna.
Well, at that point, you're there because, well, you're supposed to be there because you want to be there, right? So if you're not showing up to class, then it's because you don't want to go. Like you're becoming an adult, and it's really scary when you come right out of high school, especially like, I don't know, like being at St. George's, they were always so all about the students, you know, and it was like, it was really, I don't know, it was a big change. So with that, we'll be right back.